The arch on the majestic Mississippi is the gateway to the West. But tonight, St. Louis serves as a partial gateway to the Olympics next month in London. Chaffetz Arena on the campus of St. Louis University. Will Nastia Liukin be there in London? Not since Nadia Comaneci, as an all-around gold medalist, returned to the Olympics. She's fighting over 30 years of history. Jordyn Wieber's path is filled with a world championship, and she's taking all the proper steps that could give her a chance at Olympic greatness of her own. And if she's the it girl, then 1A is Gabby Douglas, who has been on a rocket ship to the top. Her timing could be perfect. Tonight we begin to find out. And the person making the final decisions as to who represents the United States for a third Olympics in a row is Marta Karolyi. Her eyes don't miss a move. Universal Sports presents the 2012 Visa Championships, and we welcome you inside Chaffetz Arena. Tonight and Sunday afternoon, we will crown a U.S. national champion and narrow the field of hopeful women who want to be one of the 5 who will represent the United States in London. It would be a major upset if it wasn't a list that included Jordyn Wieber. Gabby Douglas has jumped into the scene and certainly complicated the decisions that will have to be made by Marta Karolyi and her staff. And there's Nastia Liukin. In just a few minutes, she'll climb the uneven bars and show whether she's got the form on that apparatus to take her dreams back to the Olympics. Hi, everybody. Al Trautwig along once again with Elfie Schlegel and Olympic gold medalist Tim Daggett. Along the way, we've learned one thing. It is hard to go back to the Olympic Games. Tim Daggett knows that, and now Chelsea Memel and Shawn Johnson know that, as Father Time and injury have taken them out of the London Olympics mix. So, Tim, this is a major step in figuring out who goes to London. What's going to happen here tonight and Sunday?
Well, it really is a three-pronged test to who makes this Olympic team. It started a couple of weeks ago at the U.S. Classic. That was the first prong of this test. And tonight, and as you said, on Sunday, will be the second test. In a few weeks after that, it'll be San Jose. And each one of these competitions is crucial. Some athletes have to show that they're at peak form physically, but a lot of athletes have to show Marta Karolyi that they can deal with the pressure.
Elfie, I mentioned Nastia Liukin. Why is it so hard to do what she's doing?
Well, she's not dealing with a lot of time. Just a couple of weeks ago, Nastia was on the balance beam at Classics, so she already survived step 1, so to speak. But tonight, she's adding uneven bars. She's a specialist. Those 2 events have to be awesome. Her dad even said, without uneven bars, balance beam means absolutely nothing.
Some more familiar names. Alicia Sacramone, Rebecca Bross, and Bridget Sloan. They're part of this also.
Yes, they are. And, you know, their stories are all a bit different, but it all involves time. And each one of those athletes has had some serious injuries along the way.
Jordyn Wieber has suddenly got a little tick in her game. It happens on the uneven bars, and she's got to get rid of it as quickly as possible. How does it happen?
Well, she has really stumbled a little bit at both the most recent American Cup and during the team finals at the World Championships. She wasn't good on bars as well. So if there is an area where she needs to improve, it is there. Not really here, though, on the vault.
2 weeks ago, Chicago. What did you learn about the all-around battle?
Well, that's where she showed it once again. She wasn't at her top game at all on the uneven bars. She came back, though, and was just a monster strong on the balance beam. But really, you know, if she wants to challenge for that gold medal, she's going to have to become more consistent on bars.
We take our first break. In just a few minutes, the journey of Gabby Douglas continues, and Nastia Liukin's attempt to return to represent the United States begins. These are the Visa Championships on Universal Sports.
Since I play trivia with her, I gotta play trivia with you. So if you guys want to play along, take a look at the screen. This is the AT&T trivia question, okay? Who was the women's national champion at the 2011 Visa Championships? Was it A, Jordyn Wieber, B, Gabrielle, C, Raisman, or D, McKayla Maroney? Text the answer, follow the directions. If you get a text back, you might get a little gift. That's how it works for our friends at AT&T. Pick up that AT&T phone and play the game right now. And after you get done, have this type of spirit right here. All night long, baby. Visa Championships 2012. From the London starts tonight, St. Louis. Let's do this.
The 2012 Visa Championships are brought to you by USA Gymnastics, by Visa, by the Oral-B Pro Health Clinical Pro Flex Brush, and by Kellogg's, proud sponsor of the 2012 U.S. Olympic Team and USA Gymnastics. From great starts come great things.
Opened in 1965, it almost took 4 decades for St. Louis to decide to build and then actually open the Gateway Arch. You can just feel the tension. It is Olympic-sized. She has, Nastia Liukin, been taking deep, deep breaths, and she's coming up on the uneven bars in just a few minutes. But first, it's a home game for Sarah Finnegan from St. Louis, Missouri.
And I'll tell you, this girl has just been on fire this year. She is a first-year senior. She's 15 years old. She has to turn 16 in this year to be eligible to compete in the Olympic Games. But I'll tell you, she is phenomenal on this event right here.
And what Marta Crowley's looking for is that she is a competitor. She would like to see this young lady hit in these series of meets leading to the Olympic trials. She's beautiful.
That's a big step forward, could be as much as 3/10 and then a 10th for stepping into the white carpet. Well, she's got just about everything. She's a wonderful dancer. She's very powerful, but that was not as great as we saw her do a couple weeks ago.
Lena Bell and Don Finnegan, how proud they must be. And consider that the time that their little girl is all grown up, the national championships just happen to be in St. Louis.
And not a whole lot of time leading up to these Olympic trials. There's not a lot of international experience with Miss Finnegan, but one of the things that she could do for Team USA is contribute on floor exercise.
We are going to remember what happens in the next few minutes for a long time. This is one of the great Olympic champions gymnastics has ever seen. 5 medals in Beijing, a gold, 3 bronzes, and a silver. And she said she just couldn't stand the thought of having the Olympics take place and not being part of it and saying, what if? And so back she comes.
And, you know, it was very telling what she said. She was totally honest. She said, you know, I've been Nastia Olympic champion for 3 years now. But when I put my arm up, I am not Nastia Olympic champion. I'm just Nastia. I'm the same as all the other girls. I've got to impress here, and she needs to do it on the uneven bars. This is the place, if she's going to make that team, that it can all happen.
First time since the comeback.
Oh, and a little bit off. Right off the bat there, and this one is even more difficult. Right into a release. Really, for her, the only doubt is whether or not physically the conditioning is there to hang on, and this is a huge problem. She came too close on that skill. It's called a pack salto from the high bar to the low bar.
And Tim, this is where it's going to come down to. We haven't actually seen her go right through to this dismount, the endurance, and she's not.
And that was a big disappointment for Nastia, and she probably made the right decision there.
I'm sure she was exhausted.
She only did a single flip. That's going to be a huge demerit in her peak possible score. And she just had a lot of errors there. That is not the way she wanted to start out the Visa Championships.
Remember, Valerie Liukin, her dad, he didn't say much, if anything. And now we go to Jordyn Wieber from DeWitt, Michigan at 16. She's done everything asked of her.
Yeah, and this is a big vault. This is what sets her apart from the rest of the field, and one of the reasons why she was so successful at last year's World Championships. This vault has 2.5 twists.
Oh, gosh. Wow, that was a little bit scary there. A little under-rotated. It's a blind landing, and she's
going for a stick.
Locks her legs. And, you know, she's getting some words from Coach John Geddard there. And they're mostly panicked words, in my opinion, because a landing like that can devastate an athlete, can take them right out of the competition and actually blow an ACL out or other really scary things. Let's watch when she lands. She's a little under-rotated, and she locks that right leg, that hyperextended. And that's going to be a little bit painful for Jordyn all night long.
And I think she's walking away because of her incredible physical appearance, and she's a strong athlete.
Well, her brain's got to be exploding a little bit. So we'll get the scores as we move along here, but now chalking up is Gabby Douglas. How would you describe what has happened for this gymnast?
A rocket ship. Yeah. It's been like a rocket ship, and, you know, she was just barely old enough to make the World Championships.
We have the time, so let's do it. Let's go back and show you the malfunctions on the uneven bars.
Well, she had a little bit of a form break, and this just makes it really hard physically. It's exhausting when you're not exactly on. She deals with the next one, and her release is fine, but watch on the transition from the high bar to the low bar. She's way too close to the bar, and she has to do a circle around this bar. She meant to just push away and not do this. That was unplanned. And all of this extra stuff, what that does is it exhausts her, and she's not in good enough shape to finish the routine, so she does a very simple dismount, but not good.
Tim, you had a return to the Olympics ripped away from you. What is it like? What's she thinking?
It's not a fun thought, you know, and you know, she talks about, you know, it's this being a road, and, you know, that's the most important thing, but she is a competitor, and she's not happy with anything less than perfect.
The introduction of Gabrielle Douglas from Virginia Beach, Virginia.
And this is an area where Gabby would contribute hugely to Team USA, seeing that this is by far their weakest event. She is unbelievable on this apparatus. High start value, but look at these release skills. An exquisite form.
And this is really tricky right here. This release, and she's supposed to connect it right there, does. This routine alone, if she lands on her feet right here, she does that 3 more times, once here at the Visa Championships and 2 more times at the trials, she's going to London.
She's been doing that all week long in practice. Haven't seen her miss.
And it's even more emphatic considering what just happened to Nastia. That's her coach, Ling Chow. He's got a great smile, and Marta Caroli wanted to see bigger stage performances by her. This is the national championship.
Yeah, she couldn't have been better there.
Sarah Finnegan minutes ago, 14.8.
And what Marta has said about this young lady is the gymnastics is there, no question. We know how talented Gabby Douglas is. It's all about the mental part of this sport. But on uneven bars, she hasn't wavered. She has not missed on this apparatus.
And this very tricky combination, and she'll do 2 releases in a row.
Look at those.
And this is the skill that we just saw Nastia falter on. It's called a pack salto when you do that flip from the high bar down to the low bar. This is going to get a very large number for Gabby Douglas. Gymnastics 101, you got to flip big, fly high, land on your feet.
You try to stick.
And then don't move.
The last impression for the judges.
That was sweet. Remember, we also have a national championship to award this weekend. And it means a lot to walk into the room at the Olympics and be the national champion of the United States and just a few feet apart.
And they couldn't be thinking more differently at this point in time.
Polar opposites.
Yes. You know, I think that Nastia would have much preferred to get started on balance beam. But, you know, it's the luck of the draw. And she was not just up early, but in the first rotation, and a very disappointing 13.05 for Nastia Liukin. You see that 7.35 execution score. That's really low, and the 5.7, that number is supposed to be a 6.5 on the uneven bars. So she had 0.8 less in difficulty and lots of deductions.
Yeah, I think what Marta was hoping for is that competitive spirit she saw at Classic hadn't gone away. I think she was hoping a little of that here today.
Gabby Douglas rocked it, 15.45. Great start for her. Here's Rebecca Bross.
And she's another one, just like Nastia Liukin. She is going to earn her ticket, if it's possible, because of this event right here. She's a former world medalist on the uneven bars. She has the potential. And you see that slight bit of form.
And not to mention an all-around competitor, and now she's just down to uneven bars and balance beam. Did well on this event just a couple of weeks ago at the Classic.
Coming back from a major knee injury.
That happened here at the Visa Championships last year. Landed a vault and dislocated her kneecap. And she, so far, is really dealing with the pressure. It's not the best routine. There are a couple of nitpicky little deductions that she's had. Legs are coming apart just a little bit. The dismount.
That's as well as she could have done it.
Somewhere there's a very proud surgeon.
And remember, Rebecca, she trains alongside Nastia Liukin, and both of them are doing bars and beam. And there's absolutely no scenario possible that both of them earn a ticket to London.
What complicates things, Tim, and maybe you can explain this a little bit more, in a perfect world, Marta Karolyi wants to have 5 gymnasts, and that's all there'll be, who can compete on all 4 events.
Exactly, and this is one that can do that. She's a little bit weak on the uneven bars, and that's why it opens the door for someone like Rebecca Bross or Nastia Liukin. But she can go out and deliver 3 super strong routines, and she's usually very tough on the uneven bars as well.
We remember one Saturday afternoon a couple of years ago in Worcester, Massachusetts, not far from where she grew up, and she just literally, I hate to reuse it, it's such a cliche, she came out of nowhere.
Yes. Yeah, and you take a look at her when she's competing, and nothing phases her. She is by far the sturdiest gymnast this country has seen in a long time, and she has delivered time and time again. She's had a great year so far.
She looks ready.
Exactly what she always does under huge pressure, and that doesn't happen that often. Marta Karolyi giving the applause there.
She wants her on the team.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. But it's always a correction. You can always be better, Allie. Coach Mihai Brestjan there, and her famous teammate, Alicia Sacramone, who is also trying to come back from injury.
Alicia looks like she's standing there going, yeah, I've heard that one, and I've heard that one too. And now we take you to Sabrina Vega, who was on that U.S. team that won the gold medal in Tokyo at the World Championships. This is her 5th Visa Championships.
Well, you know, she has not looked great at these championships, and
she's looked a little bit sluggish, I have to say. This is probably one of her better events. She's known as a beam and floor specialist, but I've been watching her all week in practice, and there's just no fire there. There isn't this desire like I saw just, you know, before the World Championships, actually.
You know, and it's important to note that this Olympic team, it'll be just 5 athletes. Historically, it's always been 6 at the World Championships a year ago. Less than a year ago, she made that team, and my estimation is she was the 6th gymnast chosen. And so just a rule change could be enough to keep her off the Olympic team and not have that dream come true. But so far, this has been really good. And I made mention to that first set of the trials process, the U.S. Classic that happened a couple of weeks ago. Balance beam was not good at all.
And it's really about the numbers. It's putting in sets of beam routines where they're hitting. Marta is looking for athletes who aren't afraid to deliver a routine and stay on, basically.
Just the dismount. This has been hard for her all week long. Whoa, boy.
She's had assistance there all week long, so that was a little undercutted.
That's what you call pull until you hit.
Big numbers for Rebecca Bross, 15.2, and Ali Raisman, 15.45. What is Nastia Liukin thinking? A 13.05. Damage control in progress. We're live on Universal Sports. We're back live in St. Louis on Universal Sports. Gabby Douglas, right after Nastia Liukin, over her shoulder there, had a rough adventure on the uneven bars. She pretty much rocked it. But Jordyn Wieber still leads. She has so much difficulty packed into her vault that she can have a major misstep on the landing and still get a 15.65. Here you see Wieber's lead over Raisman, 0.2, same over Gabrielle Douglas. So we'll have a nice, interesting battle for honors after night one. And again, this will wrap up on Sunday afternoon on NBC Sports. So Nastia is only competing in 2 events, Tim and Elfie. What's the thought there when everybody knows Marta wants to see 4-event gymnasts?
Well, Nastia and Rebecca Bross and some of the other gymnasts, that's all they're capable of. And so what they would do is they would potentially, only if it's beneficial to Team USA, be a person that would fill spots. And USA has been weak on the uneven bars, as we have said, and so that is a spot where someone like Nastia, someone like Rebecca Bross could fill that spot. But obviously, from what we saw today from Nastia, that's going to be tough.
Chelsea Memel not part of the mix here, and it's interesting that she's chosen to stay around, Elfie, and time the balance beam.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen her compete in this competition, I have to say. She has quite a following and always enjoyed her gymnastics, but this is who Chelsea Memel is. She supports USA Gymnastics, and this is what she's about. She's back at the Visa Championships trying to support the athletes.
So from the uneven bars, now Gabrielle Douglas just continues to impress.
She does.
And this is where Marta has said, now, the uneven bars, not a surprise. She knows she's capable of the big scores there, but in the remaining 3 events is where she has had some problems. Gabby says herself, it's about focus. I just have to breathe. I have to stay calm. And that's exactly what Marta stressed to us in practice this morning. She has to stay focused, not get her energy up too high, just do what she's capable of doing like she does in practice.
And she can. She did at the Classic a couple of weeks ago. She did struggle on balance beam, but that's not indicative of what she's capable of. She can be not just a good balance beam worker, she's world class on this event if she just does what Gabby can do. And you see Lang Chow there, the coach. I often ask, you know, how's it going to go today for Gabby? And he says, if Gabby's Gabby, everything will be fine.
As the story goes, her sister Arielle saw something in her and convinced Mom to put her in gymnastics. Arielle was dead on. And Nastia Liukin is looking toward clearing her head on the nerve-wracking balance beam. She'll do it in front of that big American flag where she was dominant 4 years ago. But going back to the Olympics is just plain hard.
Gabrielle Douglas of Chow's on uneven bars.
We're back live in St. Louis, Missouri. Nastia Liukin will do only 2 events here tonight. The uneven bars, which did not go well by her own standard. And now she's getting set to go on the balance beam. We've had a chance in the last couple of years to spend some time with her. She's really ticked right now.
Oh, God, yeah. You know, I mean, she is a perfectionist to the utmost level. And, you know, I used to say that only one color works in the Liukin family, and that's gold. Her dad, an Olympic medalist, gold medalist, and it's she is reeling right now. But she's also a seasoned competitor. There you see father and coach, Valeri Liukin, one of the all-time greats in men's gymnastics. And
he's had a plan for her this whole time. And Nastia was saying that I trust in him. He's done it before. He can do it again. And she's been, like you said, very serious about this comeback. She did a great job at Classic just a couple of weeks ago. The only area on the balance beam that she needed to improve on was just some of the connections. A couple of her leaps that she chose to do that weren't quite at their maximum.
Very difficult combination, has to keep it moving, and
yeah, beautiful.
Does a pretty good job.
One thing you cannot take away from this young lady are those gorgeous lines, beautiful flexibility. She has all of that.
And wow, she is really showing what she's capable of here. Another difficult aerial element.
Coming up is a skill that she performed just a couple of weeks ago. It wouldn't have gotten its credit 2 weeks ago. Let's see what she does here. A little bit better, but still needs to lay that head back a little bit further. It's a very risky skill. And then the dismount.
We talked about the endurance, and here's where it comes into play.
2.5 twists. Need some power. Wow.
No problem. That's the Nastia we're accustomed to looking at. And, you know, she did have that really rough bars, but in no way, shape, or form, in my opinion, does that knock her out of Olympic contention. Marta even told us. She said that, you know, Nastia started a lot later. She may need a little bit more time, and that's okay with me.
Now, the way this is going to work is 8, based on the standings, go to the Olympic trials on Sunday afternoon, and then Marta will nominate others to go to the Olympic trials.
Exactly. Probably somewhere 4, maybe 5. She says that the number that they think they're going to go for is 12, but she says don't hold me to that.
Yeah.
Could be 11 or 13.
Tim, what do gymnasts call what is happening with Jordyn Wieber on the uneven bars?
Yeah, you know, it's like bad mojo, you know, because at the World Championships where she won, she was way over on that, and then
sheer strength pulls it back. And once again,
at the American Cup,
what a fight.
Really the same element.
It's always going for that perfect handstand position, which is what the uneven bars is all about, trying to hit the perfect handstand.
And she's doing the exact same routine that she did at both of those championships. She'll do a couple of very intricate moves on the low bar. She'll transition up to the high bar, and right away she'll go into that free hip with a full turn that has really caused her some problems. Those skills, I believe she's the first female gymnast to ever do them. They're called Weiler kips. Right here, this is the skill, and that was great. She has struggled on it, not just in competitions, but really quite a few times here in St. Louis and in Chicago at the Classic.
Just the dismount.
But that's why she's world champion.
Best we've seen in a long time.
So she punches the demon in the nose.
About freaking time. You hear that? Golly. Yeah, you know, it's she's capable of all the elements, but it's really bars has given her the biggest problems.
Elfie Nastia Liukin, 15.1 on the beam.
Yeah, that's a better score than she received 2 weeks ago.
Back to Gabby Douglas, second after the first rotation, 2/10 down to Jordyn Wieber. Is there any scenario where you don't see Gabby Douglas in London?
I personally don't. You know, her bars are so great, and you know, to be honest, if she does everything she's capable of, I think that she can win this competition here. But really, just about 90% of that is going to happen within about the next minute and a half here on balance beam.
And that's what Marta is looking at right now. She is paying extra attention to this balance beam routine.
This is the skill she struggled on a couple weeks ago, right here. Very good. Giant skill right here. Backflip, full twist. Oh.
She's usually a little more solid on that one.
What gets your attention more, the slip up or her fighting through it?
Well, both actually, but then immediately afterwards, she second guessed herself on that leap.
And I think Gabby has done more routines in the workouts we've watched all week long. I mean, she has endless energy. Sometimes Marta says she has to go over to her coach, Liang Chao, and say, you know, slow down just a little bit, not too many more. She can't stop her, but she says that's the endurance you need to get through an Olympic Games.
Well, this is a good routine, and she's showing a lot of fight, but I've seen her do maybe 15 beam routines this week that are far superior to this. She is showing that she's a fighter, though, and she's not going to let a mistake get to her head and cause a catastrophe.
Just the dismount.
Well, it was good. Certainly going to keep her in the game, but
there's room for improvement.
Yeah, lots of room.
You guys always say that.
No, I tell you, let's.
If you want to win the Olympic Games, there's room for improvement.
Thank you.
Jordyn Wieber, by the way, 15.05 on the uneven bars. Here's Ali Raisman, second after the first rotation, tied with Gabby Douglas on the vault.
And she really is one of those people that she's going to have to implode to not be on that team to London. This is super difficult vault, same as we saw from Wieber. She pulls it around. That is what she does.
Just finds her feet and puts them on the ground.
Because that was not a great vault. That was not a great vault for Ali. She. Yes. Yep. Yep. He's saying don't go for the landings. You need to go full power. The landing was a little bit low, but certainly still going to help her a lot.
Well, in a short while, we'll be talking with Tim and Elfie about who might be in and who might be out of the Olympic mix. And Kyla Ross is, interestingly, part of that conversation.
Well, she is also one of those first-year seniors. So the first time she's eligible to compete in a senior competition because she turned 16 this year.
When she entered that competition, said she felt totally ready. It didn't feel any differently to her.
This is excellent so far. She had one of the highest scores at the first qualifying competition, the Classic, on the uneven bars, where USA is weak. This.
Yeah, that'll raise a few eyebrows.
Yes, it will.
Well, just like Jordyn Wieber, Ali Raisman survives the vault step with a 15.45. Gabby Douglas will slide behind her in the standings with a 14.8 on the beam. Rebecca Bross, impressive first rotation.
And there are just a bunch of places in this exercise where she has struggled all week long.
It's been hard to watch her, Tim, on balance beam. It's been very, very difficult. She's been frustrated. Valeri Liukin, her coach, has been frustrated, mostly on her dismount, which is extremely difficult. But she's had a number of problems throughout the routine, and maybe she can take that energy from bars, make it work for her right now.
That was pretty good. Landed a little bit low. You're not supposed to land in a total squat whenever you're doing these flipping skills, and that right there is a pretty big mistake. And also she will lose what's called connection points. They're supposed to be together, and if you don't do them together, then you lose that bonus. Another balance check there.
Remember what Marta had kept reiterating to us, especially if you're an event specialist, is you have to be awesome. You have to be spectacular for her to consider you for the Olympic team.
And you know, ironically, Rebecca used to be one of the toughest competitors, one that Marta Karolyi absolutely trusted in all these pressure-filled situations. She said she's got to re-earn that title. And here comes that dismount, and she has not been getting this around to her feet without a huge squat.
She's going to take a deduction, and again, she has missed 99% of those. There have been very few that we have watched her land. So frustrating.
And so that landing right there will be in excess of 1 full point in deductions. But you know, I mean, what it comes down to is they know that she needs to be competing a routine at this level to even be considered.
Kyla Ross, 15.5, a little bit higher than Douglas. And here is Alicia Sacramone, just 8 months after having her Achilles tendon explode. Yesterday, she injured herself on a landing.
And the landing is the only thing that's going to be hard about this.
Oh.
And you see how she landed 1 foot in front of the other?
She is one tough lady.
That was definitely to try to protect her legs. Be a slight deduction for that. Good power, not quite as explosive as we have seen her before. She got a little bit bend in her hips and she pikes down. But you see that staggered landing, that is a defense mechanism to take weight off of the leg that is feeling pain.
She stays up there for a second vault. This is what it looked like in October in Tokyo. And that's what it looked like shortly after that. And then one of those magical surgeries to somehow make the Achilles tendon whole again.
Yeah, it's amazing that
she's come back so quickly.
It's amazing that she's here.
What's the scenario by which she thinks she makes the Olympics?
Well, she thinks that, you know, she is a world champion, and she's got that tattoo right there that says she's got Olympic experience. But unfortunately for Alicia, her Olympic experience wasn't all that great. She fell on the last 2 events, balance beam and floor, at the Olympic Games. She needs to be far and away exceptional on this event.
She's saving the leg.
And quite frankly, I don't understand why she would even do 2 vaults here today.
I told you not to rush to the table. You go with the head in the table. It's hard. It's not bad vault, but what they expect.
So
I think she went against his wishes.
Yeah, it really doesn't make any sense, because for the team competition, they only need her to do 1 event, one vault, and she really, with the injury that she sustained yesterday in training, I don't know if that was the best choice.
Sacramone gets a 15.45 on the first vault,
which is a very good number.
But you won't see anywhere near that number for the second vault.
Bridget Sloan, an Olympian, a world champion, a U.S. national champion.
Incredible resume.
Trying to get back.
And she is so far doing an excellent job on bars.
We haven't seen any of this in practice. I'm telling you, she was one of the athletes that I just couldn't read all week long in the training. Haven't seen a full set from Bridget at all. This is shocking.
Don't forget about me.
Look at that smile.
She's a gamer, that's for sure.
Very interesting. That just shook things up a little bit.
Rebecca Bross got hit pretty hard on the balance beam, 13.55. And those two know how much went into that moment.
Yeah, a lot of people had said Bridget Sloan. There's, you know, it's
the old dog.
Yeah. That was pretty good. I'll give her that.
She's signed to the University of Florida. She'll be attending school in late August, early September.
And now McKayla Maroney. 7th place after the first rotation. She's in the conversation for the Olympics, no doubt.
Absolutely, and not because of this event right here. Marta would like to see her be a little bit more consistent because she can be great on floor. She just hasn't been a lot of times in the major competition. She is the reigning world champion on vault, though, and she is so far away and above everybody else in the world right now on that one event that alone, even on a 5-person team, could be enough to put her on her team. But this is an event that would seal the deal.
Watch this first tumbling pass right here. 3.5 twists. Wow.
Almost a built-in deduction, that pass for her. Just doesn't have enough room. Well, it started remarkably well. She does that 3.5 twist. Just a handful of people in the world, men and women, can pull that off. It's fantastic. She just shoots her body straight into the air. But that third pass that she does, she struggled on it at the World Championships, as she's getting some pointers from great Soviet gymnast Arthur Kopyan. So the first pass was unbelievable. Watch, she takes off and she almost travels forward to be able to kill her rotation enough to get 3.5 twists around. Does it extremely well. But then this pass, it's just she doesn't have enough room, and she's afraid she's going to go out of bounds right here, I think. And so she kind of puts her feet a little bit back and doesn't. It's just, it's a very tricky thing to do because she feels so cramped by that corner, and if she lands with 2 feet out of bounds, that is a huge deduction.
But Tim, I think Marta Karolyi said herself earlier today that she thinks she's improving, especially on this event. I think she's willing to give her a little bit more time. She'd like to see her out there.
We can tell you that Bridget Sloan's score on the uneven bar is 15.1. Stories all over the room at Chaifetz Arena in St. Louis. The 2012 Visa Championships, and you're watching it live on Universal Sports. Back live in Chaffetz Arena, St. Louis, Missouri. And you are looking at the new leader of these Visa Championships. Raisman slides in front by 2/10 over Jordyn Wieber. We'll get to the scores in just a moment. And we wonder what Nastia Liukin might be thinking. We'll talk about her part and her role potentially in the Olympic picture. Remember 96, it was a magnificent 7. By the time the Olympics changed, it became 6, and now it is only 5 members of an Olympic team. Decisions, decisions, decisions. Over on the London board, we find Elfie Schlegel and Tim Daggett. So, Tim, if you were going to begin building a team, where would you start?
You absolutely have to start with Jordyn Wieber because she's the reigning world champion in the all-around, and she's stable, and we're starting on vault, so she's going to be our first athlete. If there's a lock on the team, it's Jordyn Wieber. The second athlete on the vault is McKayla Maroney. She's the world champion on vault, and she is far away the best vaulter in the world right now. This event alone, I think, is enough to punch her ticket to London. Yeah,
and over onto bars, really the only sure bet right now, and no surprise after what she did this evening, is Gabby Douglas. I mean, by far one of the most difficult bar routines in the world, and what she does best is she keeps hitting.
Exactly. Going on to the balance beam. Once again, we're going to use our lock right there, and we are also going to move to Raisman. If there's another gymnast that is very close to being a lock, it's Raisman. Marta Corelli calls her absolutely sturdy. That's a good compliment from Marta.
And over to floor exercise, Raisman once again, especially after what we just saw on floor exercise. Like you said, Tim, she is consistent. She deserves that spot. And I think we have to give the other spot to, of course, 2011 world all-around champion Jordyn Wieber.
And, you know, so what you got right here is you've got a board with 1 or 2 athletes on each event. And for Team USA to win the gold medal, what it's going to take is 3 strong athletes on 3 events. And so that's very critical to start filling these things in. On vaulting, the USA is so deep. There are so many athletes that could potentially. Go ahead.
Gabby Douglas.
Yeah, you could put Gabby Douglas up and
Elizabeth Price.
Whoa, 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 whoa. You've already gone to 5.
Yes, we have. Yep. And let's look at who we got here on the board.
What I don't see is Nastia Liukin.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't see her, and, you know, potentially she could be here. This is the only way that Nastia earns her ticket to London, if she is able to be great, but she wasn't today.
Right. She has to do that in order to do this.
But let's go back to bars, because we did see somebody who did a great job. Rebecca Bross is possible, but there's another gymnast, an all-around gymnast, and that is Kyla Ross. She was actually even better than Rebecca Bross, and the reason she has a little bit of an edge is she's an all-around gymnast. Bross can only do 2 events, the uneven bars and the balance beam, and we just saw her struggle on beam, too.
I'm going to add one more to floor exercise, McKayla Maroney. I like this floor exercise. I think it has potential, a lot of difficulty. I think she can go places in the coming month.
And this is a gymnast that could sneak in because she's good on the uneven bars and Price. So the team, I'm going to put it up here really quickly. I'm going to take her off. And there is your team.
Decisions, decisions, decisions. And it's a fluid conversation. Impressions made tonight, impressions made on Sunday. Get an invitation to the Olympic trials.
Sound like fun? Okay, so you talked about the tour coming here, and I want to get you some tickets so you can come and watch the Oregon tour. Does that sound like fun? Okay, so if it's okay with your mom, we're going to break it down so you can get a bird's eye view of what the Olympics can't hear you. Yeah. Exactly. So what do you say you come with me, and we'll give you a big round of applause when you come down here and I'll show you the floor a little bit. Okay. Let's do this. Come on. Sit back, St. Louis. More gymnastics coming to you live.
Back live in St. Louis, Missouri, Al Troutwig, Elfie Schlegel, Tim Daggett, and Andrea Joyce. Allie Raisman moves in front of Jordyn Wieber by 0.2. We have 8 names up there because 8 names are what guarantee a trip to the Olympic trials in 3 weeks. And then Marty Caroli can invite out how she sees fit. And now to Jordyn Wieber, best in the world.
And you know, this is an event where at the World Championships, where she struggled on bars, and then at the American Cup this year, where she struggled on bars, both times she came back and was just unbelievably confident and rock solid.
So far starts out exactly that way. She made changes after the World Championships as well. Upgraded this exercise, this combination right here.
And she was supposed to connect that. She'll lose a little bit, but no big deal. A little bit off balance. You know, if the judges can detect that the gymnast is off balance like that, then there is a deduction. I think she rattled herself a little bit on that very tricky combination.
She actually won't get the connection for that combo. Jordyn said she would like to leave these national championships with all these routines set in her mind. These, she feels, will be her Olympic routines.
Dismount, 2 back handsprings. Did the same dismount we saw Nastia do earlier. 2.5 twist. Beautifully done. Legs pasted together. Just a small 1/10 hop forward on the landing.
So Jordyn Wieber looking good on night 1.
And that was very good. She can be excellent on beam. I would have to call that very good.
Gabby Douglas, floor exercise. What does she do in this event that excites you, Elfie?
Well, she can fly. Her tumbling is unbelievably powerful. And I think for Gabby, what she needs to do going into this exercise is make sure that she's steady on all her landings. She wants to be crisp. She can do the skills. It's about perfecting them at this point.
What I find fascinating is there are 5 women in this building right now that are about to go on the journey of their lives to the Olympic Games, and they're just not sure who their teammates are going to be. A lot going on there.
There sure was. As Alfie said, though, it's going to come down to landings, and she was a little bit jumpy on a few of them. A couple of them were very nice as well. A very strong routine for Gabby. So far, 3 times up, 3 times hits, and that's big for this young lady right here.
To the new leader, Raisman. Someone you would not want to play poker with.
It doesn't change.
Yeah.
It's true, though. Every workout, every competition, you really can't read her.
And I would be very surprised if she was able to maintain that first place ranking, because this is the only event where Allie isn't spectacular on. And right off the top, she was very short on that handstand. Everything has to land in a handstand. And watch her feet, just slight form deductions on bars.
And even saying that, Tim, she's still out there doing 4 apparatus. She is still competing in the all-around. Should Allie be on that Olympic team, this wouldn't likely be an event that Marta would put her on.
Wow.
But she's a fighter.
That was a struggle, and very close on that release right there. And she's got to connect it right away here.
She's tough.
And sticks the landing.
She is tough.
She can do better.
Yeah, no, she can actually do much better than that.
He doesn't know what to say anymore.
He has no words.
Kyla Ross on the beam. Gabby Douglas, 15.05 floor exercise. Jordyn Wieber, balance beam, 14.7.
This is typically a place where Kyla is very good, but a couple of weeks ago at the Classic, she was a little bit rattled. A lot of her landings, and Marta Caroli, she wasn't happy with that. Chatted with her about it after the competition. Suggested that she take this heel pad that she typically trains with and not train with it on the morning practice. She's hoping this is what will make the difference for her.
And it's a good suggestion, but I personally don't think it had anything to do with the heel pad. I think that it had to do with she was in the biggest meet of her entire life, and she was on the most scary event in women's gymnastics, where anything and everything can go wrong in a microsecond. But Kyla has always been known as a phenomenal competitor.
She's doing a nice job.
And she is really showing that here on beam.
She's been growing like crazy, too.
And, you know, I think she's okay. You know, at some, they grow just a little bit too much at the wrong time.
Her timing is perfect.
Yes, it is.
This has been a great exercise, just this dismount.
And she has been sicking them all week. Oh boy. And that first hop, that was a 3/10 hop, and then she hopped again, another 1/10 of a point. But the routine itself, phenomenal.
The judges did not love what Raisman did on the uneven bars, 14.1.
I think she came out of that pretty good, to be honest. That's that was a good number for her.
Maroney chalking up and getting ready to run down the vault right in front of us.
Just 2 weeks ago, she scored a 16.1.
She loves her chalk, too. Legs covered with chalk hands. And she is, like I said earlier, she is unequivocally the best in the world on this event, right here. And that's why. And these judges, okay, that was a 3/10 step, okay? If they have anything more than 3/10 off, I don't know what they're thinking, because there is nothing wrong with that. That is infinitely more powerful.
Check out the form in the air.
Beautiful form,
Explodes.
and she does explode.
Look at that. That is so hard to do.
Body is completely stretched on the landing. They're looking for that. Doesn't squat down. She does take a big step forward. That's 3/10 of a point.
So what Tim's saying is, in the execution score that's out of 10, it should read a 9.7.
It's not gonna, though. It's not gonna. My guess is it's gonna be a 9.5 or a 9.6, and you know, well, they can have their opinion, and I can have mine.
Ball number 2.
And she's one of just a handful of athletes that will do 2 vaults. The reason she's doing that is it wouldn't factor into the team score in London for the USA, but to make an event final, you have to do 2 different vaults, and you can't just do 2 different vaults. They have to be completely different vaults.
How about a 16.15? Are you happy with that?
Well, it's a good score. The maximum,
better than 2 weeks ago.
The maximum score is a 16.5.
He was looking for something along the lines of 16.2.
And half of the judges gave her a 16.2, so applause to them. And much better than we saw a couple weeks ago.
She is so cat-like. These are blind landings, and she knows exactly where to put her feet.
And, you know, she won the World Championships. She decimated the field with a much easier vault than that one right there. So she is pushing the envelope.
I can tell you that Kyla Ross got a 15.1 on the balance beam, and the only reason I mention it is that it's Nastia Liukin whose score she ties. That could be part of the conversation on Sunday. Now Alicia Sacramone on the uneven bars, and why is she going to do what she's about to do?
We thought it went away.
This is an archaic rule. In the past, a long time ago, the gymnasts had to compete on all 4 events, and if they didn't, they would have the only way they could keep themselves in the competition would be to present and touch. But nowadays, in gymnastics, you have the athletes not doing all the events. I don't know why they're having them touch like that.
So silly, isn't it?
Pretty silly.
Maroney, 15.7 on the second vault. And now the young lady from St. Louis, Missouri, Sarah Finnegan.
And here she's good. On floor exercise where we saw her, she's fantastic. She's tremendous on beam, has one of the highest start values on beam potentially in the world today, but she's just okay on bars.
Right, but one of the reasons why there's been so much hype on this young lady is because of her classic look. You can't help but look at her gymnastics and appreciate everything that she does. She does spend so much time in the gym during practices to make sure those legs are squeezed together tightly, toes are pointed. I mean, she does everything she possibly can to maximize her execution score. Yes, not the strongest event for her, but it sure will look pretty.
She is right in front of the 50 family and friends, right in front of them.
Very nice so far. Good handstand positions. There's another release right here. Oh boy, and that was a big mistake. We'll see how she deals with it.
Again, adding extra elements that make this routine that much longer and harder. Endurance is a problem right here. Wow.
Little under rotated on the dismount. That's challenging. Yeah, that's challenging for her even without the extra skill. But she covered. It's called a cover-up when you make a mistake in gymnastics. She covered just about as well as you can, and it really had very little impact on the routine, and it won't have that big of an impact on the score.
Just to cover something that people might wonder, if you make a mistake, can you throw a complication into your routine later to try and get points?
You can, but what she ends up doing is she goes over the top here. She wasn't planning on doing that. She does a pirouette. She's going to lose 3/10 because she was a little low on that pirouette. That one I don't think will be a deduction at all, and she's able to just go right back to the routine that she was supposed to do right there. So she just added in, spliced in a little bit of an error, but really didn't have that big of a problem.
Just made it a little longer, and it could have presented a problem at the end because during the workouts we've watched her come so close on this dismount, sometimes struggled to get that chest upright. Boy, she had a little extra energy tonight.
Well, that landing right there, 3/10 for the step, and up to 5/10 off for landing with her chest on her knees. I don't think they'll take that, but they're certainly going to take at least 1, maybe 3. So the endurance aspect could have been very damaging for that routine right there.
So as we move along in the third rotation, we'll check the scores. Still to come, can Raisman hold the lead? And what is Jordyn Wieber's response? It's the Visa Championships in St. Louis. One of the most unique monuments in the world. It defines St. Louis, the Gateway Arch, as we hit twilight in the Midwest. And what a surprise we have in the standings. First it was Jordyn Wieber, then it was Raisman, and now it is Kyla Ross.
But you see Gabby Douglas way down there in third place. She's actually going to vaulting. And if she can pull it off, I would say that she and Kyla Ross are the two that could come out on top in this overall competition day one.
Meanwhile, there are a couple of gymnastics veterans who just have the Vince Lombardi touch. They are Bill and Donna Strauss, the coaches at a gym in Pennsylvania called the Parkettes. And they are very interested in what's going on because one of their pupils, Elizabeth Price, figures prominently in the top 8 standings. And remember, top 8 go to the Olympic trials in 3 weeks. Here's what she did earlier on the vault.
And I said Maroney is the world's greatest vaulter. I saw this young lady a couple weeks ago do the second best vault I'd ever seen a woman do. And look at the power. Almost as much as we see from Maroney. The only problem with that is she steps over the line. She's not as square as Maroney typically, but she is a powerhouse. And I said earlier in our London board that she also is pretty darn good on bars and can contribute there. So she is in the hunt.
Again, the top 8 as of Sunday go to the Olympic trials in 3 weeks in California. And then special invitations from Marta Crowley. What do you think that would be, 5 or 6 or?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be absolutely any more than 6. I think that they're going to want it to be somewhere in the range of 12 athletes.
So Sarah Finnegan is right on the hairy edge. She's coming off a 14.0. And for the first time tonight, we go to Andrea Joyce.
All right, Al, you know that Sarah Finnegan isn't exactly a household name, at least not yet. You mentioned the crowd. We saw the crowd. She has the home crowd here in her favor. About 50 family members and friends here supporting her. She grew up in the St. Louis area. But when I talked to her dad, Don, earlier today, he said, I don't know. I don't think it's really a home court advantage. He said, I'm afraid it might be a distraction for her. Meantime, her coach, Al Fong, said that he really feels like it's a lucky situation that she came into this competition under the radar. She's just 15 years old. He really didn't want the spotlight of this situation to be glaring on her so early in the process. We did see what happened to her on bars. Marta even said that she was very excited to see how Sarah would do under this pressure. Probably not completely happy with what she saw just a couple of minutes ago. Back to you guys.
So there is Sarah Finnegan, and I think it's easy to understand about having all that family up there. I mean, just messing with your head a little bit.
And if you talk to Sarah, I mean, she is so delicate and so quiet, so respectful. You know, she said something that was so telling. I said, do you think it would have helped Sarah to have a little bit more time to prepare for this? And she said, well, you know, I think I have prepared very well, but I think a little more time would have helped.
Incredibly sweet, very soft-spoken, but boy, she has some beautiful gymnastics. The artistry, if she should make this Olympic team, that look translates so well on the international stage, especially in Europe.
And here's the one thing that almost goes without saying. They all wanted the Olympics so bad. We'll take a break. The 4th rotation is coming up. Can Kyla Ross seal the deal on night 1?
big gymnastics fan? Yes. What's your favorite thing about watching these amazing athletes out here? What do you think about them? Are you, you're what? I'm sorry, jealous. I'm jealous. I mean, you still look like you're pretty out there.
Back live in St. Louis, Missouri at the Chaffetz Arena, campus of St. Louis University. A smile right there from Nastia Liukin. You would think things went okay tonight. But the fact of the matter is that they sort of did and they sort of didn't in her attempt to return to the Olympic Games after being the Olympic gold medalist in the all-around in Beijing. Al Trautwig, Elfie Schlegel, and Olympic gold medalist Tim Daggett. What do you think she is feeling about this mission and what happened here on night one?
She's absolutely horrified, to be perfectly honest. And, you know, I think going to beam and hitting was a lot of redemption for Nastia. But she does not like going out on the floor and not looking not just great, but world-class great. And she knows that she fell short on uneven bars by a lot.
And Elfie, as we take you back to her routines earlier tonight, you wonder where she thinks she can fix this on Sunday.
Well, I think that she's going to take a lot of time tonight and tomorrow and head back into the gym and think about some of those areas that she can improve on. But I think Nastia also knows that she has some time leading to the Olympic trials, and I think Marta wants to give her that time. But as Tim had mentioned before, it was going all so wrong in those pirouetting movements that kind of took her off balance. But it was right here, this connection coming down to the low bar.
Way too close, and adds that skill, which was not supposed to be in there. And the added skill and the big struggles on the top bar, and she also smacked her feet on the low bar. It just made the endurance a huge factor.
And a smart decision there, I have to say.
Actually hits the bar again.
And Tim, that to me, and I'm not a gymnast, but the one thing that would concern me is the endurance part.
Without a doubt. And, you know,
she knew that.
A couple of weeks ago in Chicago at the Classic, she did not do bars, in my opinion, because the endurance wasn't there yet.
But what a turnaround she made, coming back first up on balance beam. And I watched her standing there, just staring at the beam, waiting for her time to come. And, you know, she looked frustrated, she looked defeated. But, you know, this is the Nastia that we know. This is the type of movement that we have been accustomed to seeing way in the past. But she came out with a little bit of fire in this routine to prove to everyone, because of pride, she's too good of an athlete, and I think she spent too much time in the gym, so many hours leading to this quest, that she just didn't want it to fail.
But, you know, you said that she spent so much time in the gym. And, you know, I know from being in a situation similar to Nastia, trying to go back to an Olympic Games a second time, that you doubt yourself along the road. And, you know, you have a rough go on the uneven bars like that, and instantly it creeps back into your consciousness. God, what am I doing? Why am I putting myself through all of this? But the moment she lands this balance beam dismount, in my opinion, it all goes away. And also, in my opinion, Marta Karolyi says, okay, it's all right. She just needs more time. And that's what I think as well.
There's the night of Nastia Liukin. Only 2 events. 13:05, 15.1. And live we go over to the beam in front of the huge American flag. Alexandra Raisman.
And she dropped. You know, she was one of the leaders, and she dropped with uneven bars, which, you know, really wasn't a surprise.
Ali said one of her goals leaving these national championships is to just win a national title, whether it's in the all-around or on an event. She has never won a national title.
And Team USA has a chance to walk into the arena in London with multiple national champions. That would intimidate some people.
Yeah, it's going to be rocking and rolling. USA competes along with Great Britain in the qualifying rounds, and
that is going to be exciting.
It will be.
Very loud. Looking forward to it. Doing what she has done the entire week, going through the motions of her routines. She has put in so many hours and so many years. She said she cannot wait for the games to begin. Of course, she's put herself on the team, right?
And Tim, is it safe to say that British gymnastics has never been better?
Absolutely, on both the men and the women's side. That was a little bit of a balance check there. We don't typically see that from Ali. This is a big dismount, the same one we saw Rebecca Bross struggle with and sit down. It's called a Patterson, named after Olympic great Carly Patterson. And that was excellent.
She always does that well.
She has had a few times, and one of them occurred in the warm-ups today where she sat it down. But you don't see Ali Raisman sitting down in competitions.
But Mihai always gets the
I think he was
last word.
praising her. Didn't it look like praise?
Well, here's the story of the night so far, really. If you're talking about who's going to be the national champion, here's Kyla Ross. It'd be a great thing to put her head on the pillow tonight, knowing she was leading going into Sunday.
Right, just a couple of weeks ago at the Classic, she was second behind Ali Raisman in the all-around competition.
And this is a beautiful routine, and what she does so well as she works to the Phantom of the Opera is her landings have the potential to be, I think, the best in the competition. Oh boy. Actually, both feet were out of bounds on that. That's 0.3 of a point. Hope I didn't jinx her talking about those landings. Step, and her heel was out of bounds.
And you know, I think the judge was looking down.
Yeah, and she did not raise the flag, but her heel was definitely out of bounds.
We know how important those little tents are, especially out of bounds at team competitions.
So what happens there?
If that flag doesn't go up and the head judge doesn't intervene, then there will be no deduction. But I'm pretty sure that her heels are out of bounds. This is a beautiful, what I said at the top was she's so great at landings, and that one was gorgeous. But then she just has a little bit too much power here on this full twisting double, and heel out of bounds. And then the second one.
So take a look at the heel.
If it touches white, it is out of bounds.
Oh.
Oh, I think we got to roll that tape a little further.
Oh,
right there. The left heel, out of bounds.
Makes you wonder, is the pressure of thinking that you're the leader in the national championship something that messes with your mind? Certainly a possibility.
Absolutely.
Gabby Douglas at the head of the runway.
So she's capable of this big vault that the Americans have so many of these 6.5 Aminar vaults, 2.5 twists. The last time we saw Gabby stand this up in competition was at the American Cup. It was pretty darn great there.
And it's all about the round off for her. If she's square on the board, she'll be fine. And an excellent job for Gabby Douglas. She does step over that line, which will be a significant deduction.
But that's a big deal for her, especially since 2 weeks ago at the Classic, her coach Liang Chao took her off vault.
For big success in London, these steps have to go away.
Yeah, but this is going to get a very good score here. She does land and then step over the line. Big step, but maximum score, 16.5. That's going to be in, it should be in the mid to upper 15s would be my guess. And that's going to be enough to move her ahead of Ross.
Bridget Sloan getting set for floor exercise. We can tell you that Raisman gets a 15.2 on the balance beam. Best score so far on balance beam. She's back in the podium mix.
Bridget Sloan, as you saw, in that dreaded 9th place position. Only the all-arounder are capable of locking themselves into the Olympic trials. You have to be in the top 8.
But she could very well receive an invitation from Marta Crowley to join them.
She was the best in the world, the queen of gymnastics in 2009. Off on that turn, kind of falls out of it. The performance that I'm seeing tonight from Bridget, especially because we had been to so many workouts this past week, and you know, the landings, there were some problems on some of her landings, but the fact that she did a routine is what surprised me. I hadn't seen that yet. And what a trooper. She comes off the floor like nothing's bothering her, but she stung those ankles, I'll tell you. Some of those landings were a little bit short.
And now McKayla Maroney needs a 15.35 on the uneven bars to take the lead. I can tell you that Gabby Douglas is in the lead right now after a 15.35 on the vault. And that was with that big step.
Yeah. And McKayla is much improved on bars. She's a high flyer. Beautiful flight from the high bar to the low bar. Sometimes the angles aren't great.
But this is what I love about this gymnast, is she's not afraid to go for it.
Oh,
a little muscling there, but watch this release skill. Woo!
Huge air, fingertip grab, and another struggle.
Ouch, ouch, ouch.
And she smashes her heels on the bar. That's gonna hurt a lot, and very over on that handstand. Well, she showed a lot of fight in that exercise, but...
Was that lower bar too close?
No, it's, you know, they have to model their bodies in order to get past it. And she is taller for gymnasts, and so it's harder, but they have methods to do that, and she just didn't make herself small enough is what it comes down to.
Alicia Sacramone, 10 world championship medals, most of any American.
And actually, she got that 10th medal for being part of the team in 2011 in Tokyo. They never took her off the team. And so she earned that team medal, even though she was home in Massachusetts at that time.
This is where she had some problems in the workout the other day, where she suffered a little bit of that sting or slight injury. You can see the left calf is fully bandaged. She had problems. It happened on the dismount.
And I personally only saw her do one dismount. on beam. And it was the one where she stung her ankles badly. And, you know, this whole comeback for Alicia, because she had retired after the Olympic Games. She said it's all about redemption. The Olympic Games was not the experience that she wanted. The team, many people thought, were favored to win the gold medal. China, of course, was dominant. And Alicia's last two routines, she had errors on, and she said, you know, it's about me ending my career in a lot better of a way than that.
The only piece of gymnastics left is coming up right here. It's that dismount where just the other day.
Here we go, double pike.
Wow.
And that was great. Wow.
Now, Tim, the switch from 6 gymnasts to 5 really impacts someone like this.
Absolutely. But that was a fabulous routine from Alicia Sacramone.
Aggressive.
They went through Beijing together.
I landed on my feet. Those two very close.
Back to Sarah Finnegan.
And this is where the injury happened yesterday morning in training, but this one was much higher. Great rotation. Chest is up.
Fire.
And when you land like that, the amazing thing is when you land well, it doesn't hurt. If you're under rotated.
Well, she had so much energy in that dismount. It certainly didn't look like that the other day in practice, but good for her. That's a relief.
So hard in my life. Come on, Jet! Go, Jet! Come on, girl, take it up!
Yeah, they're living through Jetter's floor exercise routine. Sacramone gets a 15.2. That's the tire.
Yep.
Right there with Ali Raisman for the highest score on balance beam. Back to Finnegan.
And this is one of the most difficult beam routines potentially in the world.
And I love this mount, Tim Daggett.
I know you do, Elfie
I love
Schlegel.
it. It shows risk, guts,
very intricate.
It's different to me. It's unusual. You don't see that every day.
I know that.
That's what I love about it.
And actually, a past champion from her gym, Gage, did that exact same move. Taryn Humphreys, an Olympic silver medalist, and actually part of that selection committee with Marta Caroli.
Beautiful. This is where you can really see those gorgeous lines in the execution. She shows them off so beautifully in this routine. It's so well choreographed.
And that was remarkable because she was off and still, in my opinion, maintained enough rhythm for that to be called a connection and get those points. But you saw the balance check at the end of that leap.
But everyone says she's a competitor. Those who have watched her over the years say this is what she does best. She performs, she fights.
Dismount, same as Alicia's.
Right to the end.
Interesting, she's as far away as she can get and still be in the building from that section.
Alphon coach and Armini Barutien Another former great Soviet gymnast. Go ahead, Elfie.
Yeah, well, listen, she's not just jumping up on the beam. She's showing a skill that requires a great deal of patience, balance. Look at this, spinning 3 times around.
And it's super hard.
Look at that, it's perfect.
What she did better there, I would say, is the setup time for it wasn't as long. That's what bothers me sometimes. Here is
her tumbling skill, takes the entire length of the balance beam. So well done.
Same dismount that we saw just a couple minutes ago from Alicia Sacramone. Not quite the power. She doesn't have the level of power that Alicia does, but very well done.
Nice way to end the night. Mom in the middle. Dad on the right. She's probably sleeping in her own bed tonight. That's a pretty good deal. As we near the end of night 1, remember, top 8 go to the Olympic trials. Finnegan strong. Best score on the balance beam, 15.35. Can Jordyn Wieber retake the lead that was once hers on night 1 in St. Louis? She needs a 15.25 on the floor exercise to do that. Sounds doable for a world champion. Gabby Douglas, meanwhile, has the lead, tentatively for now. So a nice finish to her night. I can tell you that Kyla Ross, who was in front after 3, and McKayla Maroney had some bad things happen to them. Ross, floor exercise, problems, out of bounds, 14.05. Maroney couldn't press out the handstands on top of the bar, 13.4. Ouch.
And yes, it's possible for Jordyn. Her start score is somewhere in the 6.0, 6.1 range on floor exercise, but floor is the most critically deducted event of all the 4. Very hard to get a big number here.
she looked at the scoreboard and knew exactly what she needed to get.
With that performance, I think there's your leader after night one.
That is the final performance of the night. And wouldn't it be fitting if Jordyn Wieber ends the night like she started it as the leader in the Visa National Championships?
When she won her world title in the all-around, she scored a 14.8 on floor, but this routine was far superior. Really, the only major, not even major, the only
first
very visible error was the first tumbling pass, and it was only a 1/10 step.
The rest were perfect.
Yeah, the landings were phenomenal. She is one tough cookie, I'll tell you.
The number is 15.25. We should have it shortly. And again, these are only half the scores. Sunday afternoon on NBC Sports, the second half of the scores. And then we'll have a national champion, maybe a repeat national champion, and then we'll know the 8 names that go to the Olympic trials. And
so this is the first pass, and this is really the only one that had a landing deduction, my opinion, but it's super hard. Double twisting, double somersault, that slide back, and she is going to get a deduction for her chest being a little bit down as well. Raisman scored a 15.45 earlier tonight. She has a higher start value, somewhere between 3 to 4/10.
And we have a tie. How about that? We came on the air saying if Jordyn Wieber is the it girl, then Gabby Douglas is 1A. And after 4 events, they are tied to the 100th of a point. Wow.
Wow, he's right.
Oh, we have plenty to discuss. Kyla Ross, Gabby Douglas, Jordyn Wieber, Nastia Liukin, Alicia Sacramone, Bridget Sloan. Wow.
The 2012 Visa Championships are brought to you by USA Gymnastics, by Visa, by the Oral-B Pro Health Clinical Pro Flex Brush, and by Kellogg's, proud sponsor of the 2012 U.S. Olympic Team and USA Gymnastics. From great starts come great things.
Back at the Chaffetz Arena, St. Louis, Missouri, a tie at the top. Jordyn Wieber and Gabby Douglas, Allie Raisman right behind them. And we haven't mentioned the name of Kennedy Baker, but a good job to finish in the 8th and final spot. We go to Andrea Joyce with Nastia Liukin.
All right, Al, we should point out first bars routine for Nastia in almost 4 years. You looked really angry with yourself after that. Your thoughts on how it went?
I'm definitely disappointed. You know, seeing a 13 by my name is disappointing, but I know that there's still a little bit of time, and I really just started doing bar routines about a week ago.
How much better can you do?
A lot, and this isn't my full difficulty. I'm hoping to add a little bit more, and obviously the dismount, and I guess you have to start somewhere. So.
All right, good luck on Sunday.
Thanks,
Al?
Oh, that clock is always ticking, and again, she is comparing everything to a gold medal standard.
And she still, don't count her out, because like I said a number of times, she certainly is not counted out by Marta Caroli at this point in time. She's going to give her a little bit more time.
Back to Andrea Joyce, Jordyn Wieber, Gabby Douglas.
Any closer than it is after night one, and you guys both solid nights for both of you. I have to ask you, the bars, how huge was it for you to be able to get out there and do that bars routine after struggling the last couple of months?
It was a pretty big deal. I've been working really hard in practice, just trying to get all the little details in my routine, and to hit a strong routine was really important for me.
And Gabby, one of the things we know that Marta had been hoping from you was to see some mental toughness out there. What do you think you showed her?
I definitely think I showed her some improvements from the last couple competitions, and I came out here and just performed to the crowd and for me and just for my love for the sport. So I think I showed her how mentally toughest I am ready for this now.
All right, and you know, Gabby has always called this showtime, and they have proven that that is exactly what it is, Al.
Andrea, I'll tell you, we're sitting here smiling as wide as we can, listening to Gabby Douglas and hearing the confidence in the battle that Jordyn Wieber went through to get through what was going on the uneven bars.
Well, you know, Jordyn did have mental toughness tonight. I mean, she put it all together, and that's exactly what I expected from her. She said 2 weeks ago after Classic that she needed to work on this one piece of equipment, and she has. I mean, she's a world champion.
Well, Jordyn did great, but Gabby Douglas, she can do even better.
Biggest surprise of the night?
Nastia Liukin's bar routine.
She shares your feeling. That's going to do it. We'll see you Sunday afternoon on NBC Sports. We'll crown a new national champion and find who goes to the Olympic trials in 3 weeks. Tomorrow, we'll crown a new men's champion, perhaps. Our coverage on NBC Sports begins at 1 Eastern Time from right here in St. Louis, Missouri. With Andrea Joyce, for Tim Daggett and Elfie Schlegel, I'm Al Trautwig. We'll see you tomorrow.